It happens to the best of us. No matter how prolific, how imaginative, or how fast you write, eventually we all get writer's block. But looking at tips for digging yourself out of a slump, you get stuff like this. Wow. So, in this episode, we're going to look at practical ways to get over the hump and get back in the lab. I'm author DC Ferguson, and this is 5 tips for writer's block. Like all good students at the World Building Dojo, we've planned out our masterpiece in advance, with outlines and chapter breakdowns. If you haven't done that yet, check out this video for tips on how to do that, and you might just solve your problem right there. Whew! Great video, right? For those of us that have plotted out our work but can't find a way forward, I advise you to take a step back and look at the current problem you're stuck at and where it fits in the arc of your story. Sometimes we can get so laser focused on the details at hand that we forget the big picture. So, narrow down exactly where the problem is and why there's a problem. Ask yourself critical questions. Is this part difficult because we don't know where we're going? Is it because of a subplot that's not working as intended? Or perhaps a conversation that's not going the way you wanted it to? Knowing exactly what the problem is would be the first step toward overcoming it. But, as I say often, if you're realizing that there's something not working and that's what has you mired, cut and cut mercilessly. If the narrative doesn't flow for you, it isn't going to flow for anyone else. Don't love something so much that you can't let it go. Since we know where our plot is headed, if there's a scene you're stuck on, skip it. Right on into the next chapter. With the frustrating scene out of the way, you can approach the writing with a fresh, clean start in a new scene, a way to recharge the batteries, as it were. Doing this allows you to not only get back to the business of writing, but it serves a second, more sneaky purpose. As you continue with your work, the events taking place in the following chapter might inform you on how the last chapter ended. Then it's just a matter of working backwards to take the knowledge you have and murder that block once and for all. In some cases, getting rid of writer's block is about building a bridge between what you've already done and what you will do. Sometimes that may get so bad you can't see a way forward at all from where you are. Well, what do we do about that? Build a bigger bridge. If your block is so bad that it's affecting multiple upcoming chapters to the point where you can't see anything forward, try this. Skip ahead to the big scene. You know the one. It's the one you can't wait for. The big reveal. The drop when our protagonist is at their lowest point. The tense conversation with the antagonist. Whatever scene gets you super pumped, write it down. Then, challenge yourself to build the bridge that gets you to that scene. I once actually wrote 8 chapters ahead in a scene from Heaven's Crest. I rewarded myself with this tense conversation with the antagonist Lucius far ahead in the book. It was a scene I was really excited about writing, and I'm sure you know how much the Master of Kung Fu and Friendship just loves him some dialogue. So, for 8 chapters, I pressed on and pushed through, and when I actually reached the scene where this conversation would take place, tying in what I had just written to where I was gave this really rewarding feeling. It's a sense of accomplishment that's in part informed by having a very clear view of where you want to be. It's times like that, it feels amazing to be a writer. Pablo Picasso is credited as saying, "Good artists borrow, great artists steal." While I don't condone plagiarism of any kind, I am a staunch supporter of looking at how things are done right to inform us every bit as much as when we're looking at things done wrong. Since a lot of what we do on the World Building Dojo is examine past pop culture to illustrate how we move forward, my advice to you is to always do the same. Of course, we will watch or read for pleasure, but when we're knee-deep in the muck with a big block sitting on our heads, I recommend watching with a critical eye. Let's take something that's in genre for ourselves. Now, remembering all of our terms from this season, we're not looking for the same theme, same setting, or same anything else, just genre. So, if you're doing a drama on the human condition that takes place in space, amid a war with giant alien bugs, we do not have to watch Starship Troopers for the 6th time. Watch a drama on the human condition, such as Saving Private Ryan. Ask yourself critical questions. How did the writer blend action and conflict while sparing time for character development? Can you spot the points in the acts of rising action and the drop? How did we get invested in the protagonist, and why do we care about the conflict? Asking these kinds of questions may not directly inform your solution, but it gets your mind in a pattern of problem solving and story crafting that may just help you untie the knot in your brain. Sometimes the best thing to do to move forward is to start again. No, not your whole story, calm down. Where you're stuck in your story may just be a result of something unconsciously not sitting right with you. In this case, I suggest attacking the problem from another angle with some free writing. There are a few different ways to handle this. You could go right back to the beginning of your chapter and ask, if I was going to write this from scratch, how would I do it? And begin again. This could potentially end up being an entire chapter rewrite, but if that gets you back in the lab, then so be it. We're creating a monster here. Sometimes things get messy. But sometimes the solution can be as simple as just writing from a different perspective. If you tuned into last week's episode on perspective, we dove into the narration point of view. Since you've presumably already started writing in one point of view, and hopefully stayed that way, why not try some free writing involving someone else in the chapter? Write from the antagonist's point of view, or a side character. Going into the thoughts and feelings of someone else may reveal motivations or hidden truths and inform you better as to where you're going. If nothing else, it's another tool that brings you closer to understanding your characters better, and it gets you writing again. Writer's block is just the worst, and I hope that I've tossed out a few practical suggestions that'll get you out of your slump and back to the business of showing us your fabulous worlds. As for me, the Dragon's Dream Saga is chugging right along. Resting on my laurels just isn't something I do, so I'm already back in the lab working on Book 4, Spirits Unbound. I'll be happy to show off the cover for everybody just as soon as we get closer to knowing what the release date's going to be, but I'm hoping for early summer. If you haven't started with the Dragon's Dream Saga, what the heck are you waiting for? Check out the links in the description box down below. Also down there, you're going to find links to my mailing list, which you can sign up for my newsletter and get all the latest goings-on with the Dragon's Dream Saga. Help out the Master of Kung Fu and Friendship by hitting that like and subscribe button to hear about new videos. As always, I'm DC Ferguson. Now have fun and get crafting.